All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys. Or yesterday, I didn't have office hours. I was feeling sick. I feel better today. My voice is still a little scratchy, but um, we'll give it a go here today. I may have to cut it short if I end up losing my voice, but I feel pretty good right now. So we'll go ahead and move forward. So Gregory S. We'll start with Gregory S. Says, which 3D motion sensor system does TSG recommend, and what is the approximate cost? So what we have used, I can tell you what we've used. We've used, we haven't used all of them. We haven't really used TrackMan. We haven't really used. Um, Basically, what we've used is the GC Quad, which I think is very good, really, really good for indoor. It's probably the most accurate for club data because it's a photo-based system, photometric system. So if you're looking for indoor, if you're just looking to do indoor, I think that's probably your best bet. Those cost in the range of, I think, $18,000 to $20,000. It really depends on. That's just for the machine itself. That doesn't include uh, an iPod or an iPad, excuse me, that you would need to see the data, or a computer, or a projector, like if you were wanting to do a simulation type thing, or all of that. That's just for the machine itself. But yeah, if you're interested, I would go to GC Quad, their website. Um, Body sensor system. We haven't really used any, honestly. We've used MySwing, and they're actually not in business anymore, I don't think. So, but it's kind of um, it's a little hard to use that, the user ability, because it takes forever to put on all them little sensors, and then uh, then it doesn't necessarily help you that much. Now there is one. It's called K Motion. I have no idea what the cost is on that. We've never used it, but I've seen it at I've seen it at places before, and a lot of people seem to like it. And basically, what they do is they have one that goes around your waist. I believe they have one that goes around your chest, like your rib cage. And they have one on your arm and one on your club. And that way you can kind of see what the sequence is happening. So obviously, we'll have the sequence of the hips, the rib cage, the arm, and the club. So there's only 4 sensors there. Um, I don't have any idea on the cost. I'd recommend just Googling K-Vest, and you may have to be an instructor to buy one. I don't know. But yeah, we haven't invested in anything like that. Really, these kinds of things are nice to have, and they're kind of cool to see what's going on, but they're not necessary. Um, they're You look at Jack Nicklaus. He never used a K vest or anything like that throughout his career. You look at a lot of the best golfers of all time; they never used them. Tiger, for most of his career, K vest never. Um, or My Swing never was invented. I'm not even sure if he's ever been on any of those. So these things aren't 100% necessary to have. It's nicer to have something like a launch monitor is good as well. But even that, you don't really need it to improve at golf. If you know some ball flight laws and you know what's going on and what you can do, and it's just a matter of knowing what you can do to fix it. So, all these things are nice to have, but they're really not 100% necessary all the time to have, for sure. So go ahead and get your questions posted on here, and we'll get them answered. I apologize. I know I don't sound very good. I feel fine. Just my voice is just a little bit scratchy. So yeah, go ahead and get your questions posted on here. So on the right hand side there, you'll see where you can post your questions. just write your question in there, and we'll go ahead and go ahead and get it answered. So Gregory S says, what differences have you found playing in Florida versus Indiana? So for the most part, it's just mainly the grass. So in Midwest, you're going to have, usually a lot of Kentucky grass there. So the ball, it's a little bit kind of a thicker of a grass, and the ball kind of sits up. You can't really cut it like super short. So the fairways are kind of longer typically. Now that's not all courses in Indiana, but a lot of courses have them, especially the courses I played. Mostly I played public courses. So the ball kind of sits up a little bit more, whereas in Florida, most of the fairways are cut very, very short. And it's just a little different getting used to hitting off a very short grass versus, plush grass. But, that comes down to, having good ball striking and things like that. I will tell you, I grew up playing on a course that had Kentucky grass, and it wasn't the best conditioned course all the time. So we played it as a rule where you would always play the ball up. So you would roll it around to give yourself a perfect lie, just in case, you ended up in kind of a bare spot or something like that. Because we had bare spots and stuff like that in the fairways. So that kind of trained me to always be hitting out of a perfect lie. And that didn't really work out so well. So the course I played on, it was a tight course with tall trees, and all the fairways were tree lined. So you had the other hole on the other side, or you had out of bounds or water or something like that. So if you got a little bit off of the fairway, you had to hit a shot high up over the trees to come over the other side. So that made it basically train myself to give myself this perfect lie and hit the ball high so I can launch it up over these trees. And I basically trained myself to flip the club. And it was a hard habit to break, when I came here, because when you're not hitting off of lies where the ball's sitting up perfectly like it's on a tee, you can't really hit the ball like that. You're going to hit a lot of thin shots. You're going to top some shots. You're going to hit a lot of chunk shots. So I had to train myself a little bit differently to hit the ball a little bit differently here and be able to do it both ways. So that's really kind of the main difference for me on what it has been like. Back position of the ball, because I try to hit the ball square with the club square. Recent video says to swing to the right and open the hips. I've been hooking my irons. Thanks. So it sounds like you may just be opening or overdoing that a little bit. So basically what we want to do, the reason why we want the hips to open up is that if we come into contact with the hips square throughout your body, that makes you to release this club early. If your hips are square at contact, you're going to be likely in this position here. Or you might have just a tiny bit of forward shaft lean, but you're most likely going to be releasing the club maybe in front of your lead foot or just out a little bit in front of that. So that's an early release. You're adding loft to the club. And the reason is if you think if I come down, if I swing this club like this and I suddenly stop my arm, so I go boom and I stop my arm, this club wants to keep on going. So that's what happens with the hips. When I come down, I stall my hips. Now everything wants to flip in front of my body, and then it's just the momentum of my club and my hands that are taking me through. So that's why we want to open up the hips, because that's creating momentum for the rest of the body. So now I'm here. I still want that club to opening up as I'm coming through. Now that's going to be happening out here instead of right here. So that's the main reason why you have that opening up. And the reason why you want to feel like you're swinging out to the right, it's really just a feeling. It's not necessarily a reality, because when you are swinging like this and your hips aren't opening up, your arms are swinging in front of your body. So if you look from this angle, my hips aren't opening up. My arms and the club are swinging in front of my body. If I were to open up my body and still want to swing in that same kind of direction, that same club path, I need to have the feeling that I'm swinging along the right side of my body. Because now, if you look from this angle, instead of, if I were to keep the club swinging in front of my body in the same relationship as before, the club would be swinging like this, right? I need to get my body opening up and the club swinging in the same fashion there. So that's basically what's going on there. So it sounds like you're probably just overdoing it a little bit. So I would actually just feel like you're swinging. Well, first I would look at your swing on camera and see if you are actually opening up your hips, because odds are you may be keeping your hips square and then just swinging way out to the right, and that may be what's going on with getting the hooks. Because basically, for the ball to hook, the face just needs to be closed to your club path. It sounds like you're swinging in to out too much, and your face is probably square but close to your club path, and that's going to cause you the hooks. So look at your swing on camera, see what's going on there. You're probably not opening up your hips if I had to guess, and you're probably just swinging out to the right or neutral in the downswing. It'd be hard to say without seeing your swing. So, but I would take a look at that on camera and see what's going on there. So Nicholas F says, in transition, when you move your weight forward to front side, what parts of your body are still in transition when you move your weight forward to the front side? So your whole body is moving forward, really. Nothing's moving backward. Now, as you get close to contact, you may, as you're coming into contact, you may pull back a little bit. But for the most part, your whole body is moving forward. So if you're talking about that transition point on V1 Golf, there we go. If you go to V1 Golf and download their app, you can do that. They don't ever cross into that line, but what you'll see is they get to usually past lead arms parallel to the ground, you're going to see how they start moving forward. So their bodies, and then before they start down, you're going to see that the hips are going to start to open up. So that's going to start that downswing. Now they're starting down. And what I was talking about before, where you'll sometimes see things move backward, it's about from this point, and that's just from pushing into the ground and rotating back, the hip back and out of the way. So sometimes you'll see they'll get here, and sometimes you'll see them move back just a little bit, but for the most part, they hold steady right here and they hit the ball and then come all the way up. But yeah, when in that transition area, nothing is falling backward. Nothing is moving backward. Everything is moving toward the target. So Dennis G says, can you discuss how much force is used in the hands going from full lag to straight line release? Thanks. So the amount of force is going to be dependent on the person and how much speed they have. Obviously, the more, think about, imagine a 5-year-old with the strength that they have in their hands trying to swing the club as fast as a grown person, right? They won't be able to hold on to the club. So that's basically what's going on there. You can only really put so much force there. I think the average tour player, I think it's putting about 110 pounds of force into the handle. And that's coming from, it's going to be pretty light about right here. It's going to be more in the trail hand right here. But as you get to where you're throwing that's going to be more in that lead hand. And there's going to be a lot more force. I'll be feeling that in the first 3 fingers of the lead hand there, right here. You don't want to feel that in the trail hand, because what's happening here is as you're coming into contact, your trail hand can't really keep up. So if you think about a club, if I'm swinging at the club on this point, this is the fastest point of the club. And this part of the club is going to be moving faster than this part of the club. So if you're holding on to it right here, and you're trying to get this club to move as quickly as possible, this hand technically cannot keep up. So what ends up happening is that if you were really putting a tight grip into that club with that trail hand at this point in the swing, you may actually be slowing it down. So I would try to feel like you're putting the handle, the first 3 fingers into the grip here, put a nice firm hold on those, and then allow that club to really whip through contact with that. But the amount of force, the exact amount of force, that's going to vary from person to person. But the average on tour, I believe, is about 110 pounds. You may be looking at long drive guys, probably putting a lot more force than that, obviously. The more speed you have, the more force you're going to have to put in there. So go ahead and get your questions posted on there. I'll be happy to answer them. So yeah, on the right-hand side, if you have any questions about the Top Speed Golf system, unlimited swing reviews, 20-minute distance fix. We also have our distance clinics. If you have any questions about those, I'll be happy to answer your questions. Any of the courses on the website, the move, any of that, I'll be happy to answer your questions. So Gregory S. says, what aha moments have you experienced in golf and your golf swing? I think for me, a big aha movement was the squaring of the face, how you should be squaring of the face. I think that's probably the biggest aha moment I've ever had. So basically, that what I'm talking about is essentially the move. So if you think about, let me angle this down a little bit. If you look at most players as they're coming into contact, we're coming into contact and we're doing this with our hands. Because one, we feel like it adds more power, but we learn that this is how we square up the face. This feels like a very powerful position. But if you look at this position here, I'm basically releasing that club right here, and I don't have any forward shaffling, maybe just a little bit of forward shaffling at contact. And when you're in this kind of position, it makes it tough. It can make it difficult to make solid contact because you're going to end up hitting a lot of thin shots. You're hitting a lot of chunk shots. Your best shots are going to be shots that you just sweep off the turf. It's going to be hard to hit shots. It's like what I was talking about where I was hitting the ball, fluffing the ball on the turf, getting that perfect lie every single time. You can hit balls doing this very easily, albeit it'll go very high and you'll be losing some compression on the ball, but I can very easily do that. But when you go and play courses where they they have tightly mown fairways, or you end up in a place where you're in a bare spot and it's mowing, you can't roll it. You're not playing it up. You're playing it down. You have to be able to come down and get that ball first contact on the golf ball. And it's just tough to do when you're coming into contact with no forward shaftling. Because you're basically, when you don't have forward shaftling at contact, you're most likely, if you're someone who rarely takes a divot, you probably release the club early. Because when you release the club early, what happens is that club really, really shallows out at contact. So it comes in very, very level with the turf. When you have forward shaftling, you'll come down a little bit, get ball first contact, hit through the turf, and then up. So the biggest aha moment for me was learning how to square up the club face when you get forward shaftling. So if I were to just push my hands forward, and you can't really see this, let me angle this down a little bit. If I were to push the hands forward here and keep my wrist angles the same, so if I were to get forward shaftling and keep the wrist angles the same, look at that club face. It's pointing way over there. It's way, way open. And that's if I keep my wrist angles the same. So what I have to do is I have to square up that club face by turning that handle. If you look at every single tour player, they're coming into contact with that trail wrist, in that bent back position, kind of like that. And that lead wrist position is going to be a bowed or flat position, turning that handle down. So that was a big aha moment for me, was learning how to square the club face when I have forward shaftling and to be able to get my body to rotate open into contact. Because that's a lot of reason. This is really, if you're having trouble opening up your hips, usually it's because of you're either not shallowing the club in transition or you're not squaring the club face properly at contact. You're squaring the club face like I used to square the club face. So you're either doing this, you're coming down steep, so not shallowing out the club, you're coming down steep. And what you do is you stand up to get that club to come back down on plane, and then you throw the arms at it. And when you throw the arms at it, you have to square the club up by doing that. Or maybe you are shallowing out the club, but you're used to squaring up the club face by throwing that trail wrist at it, because that feels very, very powerful to you. Because if you're a right-handed golfer, your right hand feels more powerful than anything. So it feels really powerful to throw that hand in. It feels more powerful than that position where the lead wrist is in a bent back position. So if you get here, if you're shallow and then you throw the arms at it, you won't open up the hips either. So what you got to do is you have to shallow out the club, square the face earlier so that you can turn into contact and have a square club face and forward shaftling. That was really kind of my aha moment, was the move basically. That really kind of changed things for me. It gave me a lot more distance with my irons. It boggled me that, I played in college and I would play against people and I would drive the ball just as far as them. I didn't really release the club too early with the driver. I think just because it was up on a tee. Intuitively for me, it was easier for me to release the club more out in front. So I would drive the ball and compress the ball just as well as people I played with, but they'd be hitting one or two clubs more or less with their irons. So maybe I would hit a 5 iron and they'd be hitting like a 6 or a 7 iron into par threes and things like that from the same distance. And I never really understood it. And a lot of it had to do with forward shaft lean, not getting enough forward shaft lean. And that's really a big thing. It can be a big thing for distance for sure. So if you have a lot of club head speed, getting some forward shaft lean can really, really help you. If you're someone who doesn't have a ton of club head speed, then working on forward shaft lean may not be the best thing for you. It'd probably be better for you to work on getting a better club head speed. And then once you get that club head speed, then you can work on getting some good forward shaft lean so that you can support, because you need that club head speed to support a certain amount of forward shaft lean. If you're someone who's already swinging slow and you get to where you're really turning that handle down and you're getting a ton of forward shaft lean at contact, you're just going to hit low lasers and you're never going to be able to get anything to stop on the green. It's just going to carry them way over the green. It's going to be hard to control. So you want to make sure that you're getting some good speed and then work on some forward shaft lean. All right. So Nicholas F says, in regards to my last question, what I was trying to ask was, when you initially transfer your weight to the front side, are your shoulders still turning back? And what other parts of your body are still turning back? I feel that when my right hip is still turned back, is easier to get the front side. So that's a good question. So basically what he's saying is that as you're transferring your momentum, are you still turning? So the answer is yes. So as your hips are starting to move forward, you're still turning back. And like I said, that's happening in that last part of the backswing. If you go look at tour play, I think the easiest way to kind of understand this is if you go look at a bunch of tour player swings and draw that line on the outside of their hip, outside of their ankle on this side. So they're set up here on this trail hip, trail ankle, draw a line there. And what you'll see is as they get about right here, you're going to see they're going to get about right here, right in this area. You're going to see they're going to start coming off that line. So they're going to be completing their backswing. So their upper body is still turning away, still turning, but their hips and everything are moving toward the target. And then before they start the arms down, then the lower body starts to go. Then the rib cage goes. Then the shoulders go. Then the arms go. Then the club goes into the ball. So that's basically what's going on there. Nicholas, I hope that helps. But yeah, in that very, very last part of the backswing, you're still turning back while your momentum is starting to shift forward. And then once you get pressure into that lead foot, then you're starting that downswing sequence from the ground up. So the lead foot pushes into the ground. That gets the hips to rotate. The hips get the torso rotating. The torso rotates the shoulders. The shoulders get the arms going in the hands, and then the hands release the club. All right, so William N. says, what in your opinion is the best drill to stop over the top swing? Thanks. I would recommend going to our Never Slice Again course, because if you're going over the top, you're going over the top like this, you need to learn to swing from the inside, and the best course for that is going to be our Never Slice Again course. What other thing you may want to look at is your spine angle. So if I'm at the top of my swing here and I'm like this, I'm going to want to do that in the downswing. So if I'm at the top of my swing and I'm more nice and angled away, now I have this space here where I can get this club to swing from the inside. So if you look at that from this angle, now I can get that club to swing from the inside. So I look at your spine angle as well, make sure that you're nice. You're angled away at address, angled away at the top, and now I can swing that club from the inside. If you are vertical at address, which is fine, but you need to be a little bit angled away at the top of the swing. But if you are vertical at address, typically you're going to be leaning toward the target at the top. And when you're leaning toward the target, you're going to tend to want to chop down into the ball. So I would look at your spine angle, look at that on camera, number one, and then I would go to the Never Slice Again course to start working through those drills. All those drills are to help you to swing more from the inside, so I recommend checking that out. So Kevin V says, hi, Q's, please demonstrate the line view of the perfect form at contact for a mid-iron swing. So you're designating it for a mid-iron. I will tell you, this contact position is going to be about the same for every single club, whether you're hitting a wedge or whether you're hitting low iron, mid-iron, high iron, hybrid, 3-wood driver. This position is going to be about the same. So what we're looking at here, is we're coming into contact. We like to see this heel coming off the ground. If it's on the ground, most likely what's happening is you're going to be stopped. So you want to see that heel coming off the ground a little bit. The other thing you want to see is the hips about 45 degrees open here. That's going to be roughly what you want to be in. The shoulders will be roughly square to slightly open. It's completely and the down line back. What I like to see is the heel coming off the ground. I like to see that the hips rotated open about 45 degrees. I like to see the shoulder square to slightly open. If you're talking about the tush line there, you probably heard of that, where we draw a line on the backside. I like to see that on the tush line as well. I like to see you lower your head lower than what you were at address. Those are all, but that's basically what you're going to see with all clubs. If that was a wedge that I just had right there, here I'll grab a driver. It's the same thing. As you're coming into contact, you're coming in, the heel is coming off the ground, the body is opened up, my lower body is opened up. I'm in this nice, my shoulders are impact position right here. Now you may be a little bit taller with the driver because it's a longer club, makes you stand a little bit taller. But other than that, it's going to be pretty much the exact same. So CCB says, can you talk about the position of the head needs to be in throughout the swing, and is it important to keep the head still at all costs, even if it can't swing as hard? So, so head movement, I think, is something that people are a little bit too you definitely, most tour players, or if not all tour players, their heads move throughout the swing. So what you're going to see with most tour players is, if you look at them from address, and I would actually just recommend, again, some of the best way to kind of look at this stuff and understand this is just to look at a lot of tour player swing. There's a V1 Golf app. It's a free app. You can download it for Android or iPhone or iPad or whatever Apple devices. And you can download it, and they have model swings on there. And if you look from face on, you can put a little line on top of their head and on the side of their head, and you can see, or on both sides of the head even, and you can see how much that head moves throughout the swing. So I'll go over basically what happens with most tour players throughout the swing. So what you're going to see at address here, if I were to draw a line on top of my head and on this side of my head here at address, what you would see in the backswing, you would see that their head would get a little bit lower. So we're talking 2-3 inches lower. Some tour players stay pretty level. What you won't see is, out of every tour player, you will never see a tour player come up, raise up out of that. Never. The reason for that is that if you're standing up in the backswing, one, your shoulders are going to get very level, and two, you're going to have to make a compensation in the downswing, and it's just too tough to do that. So you're always going to see them, usually you're going to see them getting 1 or 2 inches lower in the backswing. Sometimes you'll see the head move just a little this way, away from the target. Most of the time you'll see it'll just lower a little bit in the backswing, and maybe it'll turn. So you may see they're going to talk and may turn a little bit like that. So they may be like this address, and then the head may turn a little bit. But for the most part, it's just going down. And then in the down, as they start the downswing, you'll actually see the head will get even lower, and it will start to move forward a little bit. So it'll get even lower and start to move forward. So until they get about waist level, then you'll typically see it'll start to level out From this point to contact, you'll usually see in a tour player, the head won't move at all. You'll see it'll pretty much just stay right there. Now, some players right at contact, you'll see the head move up just a little. Rory McIlroy, I'm not sure if he's still doing it, but I was looking at some swings the other day, and I noticed it was a fairly older swing. It was when he still had kind of like curly hair. So I think it was probably 10 years old or something crazy like that. But yeah, he was kind of moving up just a little bit as he was coming into contact, which is fine because he was already super low as he was coming in. So you're going to see as they get to this point here, they're going to be 5 or 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches lower than what they were before. And they're going to be moving forward a little bit. And then they'll come to contact, and they'll typically be they'll be about 4 to 6 inches lower than they were at dress and a little bit more forward. And then you'll see as they get right here, they'll stay still, and then they'll come all the way up into the full finish. So that's what's going to allow you to have some very, very powerful swings. So the main thing here, as far as the big no-nos with the head, is you don't raise up the head. If you are raising up your head out of dress, you're either you're bending over the ball too much. So maybe you're like this, and basically the only way for you to get into a good position at the top is for you to kind of raise up a little bit. So staying a little bit taller at a dress, if that is the case with you. The other thing is if maybe you're trying to protect your back or something like that. Maybe you are standing tall, but you stand up and you get this level shoulder at the top of the swing. If that's the case, I work on something that's called the shoulder to shoulder drill. It's a great drill on the website. You can search it very easily. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a little search box there. If you search shoulder to shoulder, 3 words there, shoulder to shoulder, you'll find that drill that I'm talking about. Basically what you do in that drill is you take a club, put it across your shoulders, and you rotate to the top, and you try to keep that angle down, and then you come all the way through, and you keep it angled down, almost as if, not sure if you've read the 5 lessons, the Ben Hogan book. Basically in that book, Ben Hogan talks about how there's a sheet of glass, there's like a plane of glass from the golf ball that goes up through his neck, and his head's like kind of through a hole in that glass, and basically he talks about how his shoulders move on that plane. Now, in reality, it's not quite that steep, but that's a good visual to have as you're working on that if you're someone that's coming up out of your posture. So yeah, I'd be looking at that. But what you're going to see, the biggest no-nos are to not raise up out of your posture, and you don't want to move this too much off the ball. If you're going like this, most likely your spine angle is too much angled this way. You want to feel that turning into the inside of your foot. And that's going to allow you to stay in a nice angled away position, not too far angled away as you're coming to the top. So that's what I'd be looking at. So the main thing is don't raise up and don't move too far. If you move an inch or two this way, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But if it's like 4, 5, 6 inches, what I see with a lot of people, they get here and then they go like that. That's too much. Now, if you're a long drive guy or something like that, you're trying to just develop a lot of power, that's completely fine. Because it can help you generate more momentum. But if you are someone who's trying to play good, consistent golf, if you're doing that, it's going to be hard to be consistent when you do that. And if you are someone who's doing that, work on the Stable Fluid Spine course. To get to that course, click the house icon. Click the house icon there, and that'll take you to the home page. And then you can scroll down on there and see the Stable Fluid Spine course. So Gene M says, please review proper posture throughout the swing. So we just kind of talked about that a little bit essentially, but if you're talking about posture we'll talk about from face on and from down the line. So from face on, what we like to see is a nice and angled away position at address. So if I drew a line straight through the center of my hips and in the center of my shoulders, it'd be basically right where my club is here. This is level 1 of the Stable Fluid Spine. We like it to be about 6 to 8 degrees angled away. And then you're going to go up to the top, and you're going to be nice and stable up to the top. So you're going to be about in that same position, that 6 to 8 degrees. The overall angle of the body, you want to be the same. So if you think about like if there was a skewer, if you were like meat and there was a skewer going through you, that would be going right through the center of your body, and that skewer would be 6 to 8 degrees angled away. You can also think about it as if there was a laser pointing out of your spine, and where that would be pointing, that'd be pointing just to the inside of your lead foot there. That's going to get you 6 to 8 degrees angled away. Then as you come down, that angle is going to increase as your hips open up, and as you are getting your momentum moving forward, you're going to be a little bit more angled away. So you're going to be in that 18 to 25 degree angled away position. If you go to my belt buckle here, which is right here, you can't really see it, but to the center of my hips as you're coming into contact, you're going to be in that 18 to 25 degree range. That's probably about what this is right here. This is probably about 20 degrees or so. That's what you're going to be in at contact there, ideally. And then after that, once you release that club out in front, then you can come all the way up into a full finish. If you're looking at it from this angle, basically what you can do is you can draw a line from your ear hole down to your hip, down to your knee, and down to your ankle. You can draw a line all the way through there. Again, download something like the V1 Golf app. There's plenty of other apps out there as well, but we use the V1 Golf app, so it's really the only one that I really know very well. But you can easily draw lines on there. And what you want to see is you want to see that you pretty much remain in that posture throughout the entire swing. Now, you may get a little bit lower in the downswing. In the backswing, that's fine, and a little bit lower in the downswing. But for the most part, you don't want to be way off of those. If you're somewhere on those lines, then you're going to be in pretty good shape. So as long as you're not standing up way out of it, so as long as you're not like this and going like this and standing up way out of it and getting the shoulders really level, as long as you're kind of staying in those lines or even a little bit lower than those lines, you're good. Now, also, you don't want to get too far off those lines lower. You don't want to be going like this either, right? That's way less common, but that's going to be a difficult position to hit the ball from as well. Continue to post your questions on here. I will be right back. So go ahead and get your questions on here. I'll be right back. I got to take care of something real quick. Just give me a minute. There we go. All right, I'm back. So go ahead and get your questions posted on here. Like I said, I'll be on here for another 20 minutes or so. Go ahead and post your questions, and we'll get them answered. If not, we may cut this short if nobody has any questions. But I will stay on here till 10 a.m. as long as you guys are asking questions. Any questions about the Top Speed Golf system? We really haven't had any questions about the actual system, just kind of one-off questions. So Tom W says, do you have a drill to stay down on the ball during the swing? I have a terrible habit of coming up no matter what I do. So it's hard to say without seeing your swing, but the main cause that I see for coming up out of the swing, I talked about this a little bit earlier, was coming down steep. So what I would do is I would get use an app like V1 Golf, and I would film your swing. It's really, really important to film your swing. I get people all the time, not only in this office hours, but at clinics or anything like that, who ask me about training aids. What's the best training aid? What should I buy this training aid? Should I get that training aid? And a lot of people don't realize that they actually have a great training aid in their pocket all the time, and that is your camera. Your camera is going to that's one of the best training aids you can get. The best training aids out there are the ones that give you information after you've performed the action. So you film your swing, you perform the action, you film it, and then you look at it and you're getting feedback afterwards. That's really a great training aid right there, because then you look at that and you know what you have to do. You have to do something to fix that. You have to learn it on your own. It's not something that's putting you in the position. It's something that you have to do on your own. So what I would do is I would look at your swing on camera, see what's going on, and I would look from down the line. So if you look from down the line, what you'll likely see is this club is in a steep position in the downswing. So you're going up to the top, you're here, and then in the downswing, you're most likely in this kind of position. That's usually what I see with people who stand up out of the swing. Because what happens is that when you're in this kind of position, so the club is steep, and what I mean by that is it's pretty vertical here. Basically, if you drew a line from all the way down the shaft, all the way down to the ground, and that was pointing anywhere inside the golf ball, that's considered steep. So when you're in that steep position, what ends up happening is that you, in order to get this club to drop back down on the plane and to be able to hit a good shot, is you will stand up out of your posture. And when you stand up out of the posture, that raises the hands and that drops the club head. So the hands go up, club head drops down. Now that club head's working from the inside, but I'm standing up. And when I stand up, I'll flip. I'll do all sorts of things. So that's what I would look at your swing and see what's going on there. If you are someone who is coming down steep, I'd recommend going to the move course and working through the drills in that course. First, I'd make sure that all of your top speed golf system is correct. Make sure that your spine is good, your power turn is good. Make sure that you're getting lag, and then after that, what I would do is then look at the move, and I would start working on that. But I'd make sure that those other pieces are in order first, because those are the most important. But if we can get to where what we'll do in the move course is you'll get this club to where it's shallowing out. So now it's pointing at or a little bit outside of the golf ball. That's going to allow me to stay in my posture and rotate into contact. Now, just because you shallow out the club doesn't mean you're not going to flip it and stand up still, but it's the first step. The next step will be learning how to square up the face when you do that. And that's what you do in the move course. So I'd recommend checking out the move course, taking a look at your swing on camera to make sure that you're swinging, that you're not coming down steep. And if you want someone to take a look at your swing, we do offer unlimited swing reviews. We don't have spots available right now, but if you go to the Get a Review page at the top of the screen, you'll see it says Get a Review. If you go there, you can join the waiting list and have an instructor look at your swing and tell you exactly what you need to work on. And if you join the waiting list, you'll get emailed first whenever spots become available. All right, so Kevin V says, "Hi Q, what is your course management strategy?" So everybody's a little bit different. I'm more of a aggressive player, I would say. I like to have fun for the most part, but basically I like to keep it simple. And it also depends on how I'm hitting the ball that day. If I go to the range and I'm having trouble controlling things, I know it's going to be a battle for me out there. I'm going to be trying to hit away from trouble for the most part. But if I'm really on with things, I'll definitely be a little bit more aggressive. But basically what I do, and this is where it comes when you're able to draw the ball and fade the ball and hit straight shots when you want to, this is where course management becomes very easy. So basically the way you think about it, if I'm a right-handed golfer and I have trouble to the left and it's fairly open to the right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a draw. I'm going to start it away from the trouble, and then I'm going to bring it back into the fairway. And that allows you, to basically take that hazard out of play, because if you don't get the face close enough, you're just going to block it a little bit, and you're probably going to still be, you might still be in the fairway or even in the rough a little bit. Or if you really block it way out to the right or hit a slice even, you may just end up in the woods a little bit over there, but still not penalty strokes or anything like that. And I can hook it a little bit too much and probably still not get in the trouble. Whereas if I try to aim it straight down the fairway with trouble on the left, if I yank it just a little bit, I'm probably going to be in that trouble. So the best way to do that is to learn how to hit draws and fades and straight shots, and to start the ball away from the trouble and then work it back. That's generally what I do. And then on approach shots, if it's in the middle of the green, I'll typically just try to hit pretty much a straight one or wherever feels the most comfortable for me that day. But if the ball is on the left-hand side of the green, I'll hit a draw and I'll start it right at the middle of the green and work it toward the left side. And that way, I'm less likely to short side myself. I'm gonna hit it at the fat part of the green. I'm most likely to get myself a greenie. Same thing goes if I'm looking at a shot on the right. I may start it at the center of the green and work it back. So there's all kinds of things that you can do with your course strategy to help with that. But basically, that's the way I go about it. Is I try to hit draws and fades. Now, if I go to the range and I don't have really good command of my face and my path, then I may just try to hit, aim at the fat part of everything and just try to hit it straight as much as I can. There are definitely days when they're like that. That's kind of the way that I go about it. I aim at the big part of something. So basically, let's say, I'm hitting an approach shot and I don't have a really good feeling of my face and my path. Well, what I'm going to do if the ball is on the left side of the green, I may aim at the center or maybe just a little bit left of center and try to hit a straight one. And hopefully, not yank it too far to the left, basically. So that's basically the way that I go about it. Other than that, I mean, it's really pretty simple as far as course management is concerned. See ball, hit your yardages the best that you can. Put yourself, know where the place not to go is on a course. Obviously, if it's a course you've never played before, it's going to be impossible to know those things. And it just comes with, just understand that you're probably not going to shoot your best if it's a course that you've never played before. It just usually doesn't work out that way. So usually, if I'm shooting anywhere near my handicap on a course that I've never played before, I'm ecstatic. I'm really happy. So, but if it's a course that you really know the places that you can't go with the ball and just try to avoid those places, so don't give into that sucker pin. If it pins on the back right, and if you go long right of the green, and that's going to be water or penalty or whatever, aim away from that. Just try to get it on the green. Understand that you can't really go at that pin. Now, if you're in a match or something like that, and you have to have a birdie or something like that, or it's a scramble or something like that, that's completely different. But if you're playing a stroke, you're just playing for your score. Typically you won't want to go with that. Like I said, I'm a little bit more aggressive than what most people are, and that can be my detriment sometimes for sure. But I just think it's a little more fun to do that. I tell you what, I like to come away saying, "Hey, I made 6 birdies today." Being aggressive. Yeah, I had a couple doubles in there too, rather than saying, "Yeah, I parred every hole." It's just not as exciting for me. So that's just kind of the way I go about it. So Kevin V says, you mentioned handicap, how to accurately measure it. So as far as handicap is concerned, wherever you play, they should have a system, a handicapping system. I know here in the United States, we have something called GIN. I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but basically it's just a software where you put in your handicap. And all courses are rated more difficult or less difficult, so it'll kind of adjust your score and your handicap based on that. But yeah, it's pretty simple. Basically, a handicap is it's your best 10 scores out of 20 on average, and then I'm not sure exactly how they factor in the slope rating and all that in there, but that has to do something with your handicap as well. But there are also just free apps that you can download. Like if you don't need a registered handicap to play in a tournament, you just want to know kind of what your handicap is. There are tons of apps out there that will keep track of your handicap. So if you use something like Grint is one, Foursome is one. There's all kinds of apps that you can use that'll kind of that will keep track of your handicap as well. David W. says, I play alone often and I don't keep score and just hit a lot of shots trying to different things since there's really no pressure. Can this be a bad way to practice? No, if you're practicing it, it's not. Definitely throw down balls. But I will say that There probably will be a difference, when you're playing with people. A lot of times, I'll talk to people and they'll say, hey, when I go out and play by myself, I play really well. Or if I'm on the range, I hit the ball perfect. And then when I go play and I get in these certain situations, I don't play as well. So the best way to kind of make your be able to play your best golf when the pressure is on and things like that is to basically put that kind of pressure on yourself when you're in your practice as well. So it's completely fine to do a lot of practice like that. Hit a lot of different shots and do a lot of different things. But you also want to mix in some practice where you try to feel like you are definitely, try to see if you can practice with somebody. Get yourself, put a little wager, on it. Something that it's not so much that it's going to break your bank, but enough that it's going to make you try really hard, make you feel the pressure a little bit. So that's what I'd recommend doing. You can also kind of do that against yourself. If you don't, you can bet against yourself essentially. So say that you have to give $5 to something else, and if you win, you get to buy yourself something or something like that. Put the pressure on yourself. Mix a little bit of that in there so that you are getting some of those pressure situations where you would be in normal circumstances, like if you were in a match or something like that. But yeah, if you always practice like that, then when you play, it's going to feel completely different. You're probably not going to be able to match, what you did at that time. So you just want to mix it up a little bit. Gregory S says, how many strokes can you negotiate from Robin when you guys play? Probably none, I'm guessing. Robin just had his first kid, so he hasn't played. We actually played a little while back, and he didn't do real great. So I'm guessing I would be able to get. He might even be asking me for strokes, to be honest. So, but probably none. I haven't been playing a ton either. I need to get back out there for sure. When he was playing his best, I probably could have maybe got a stroke aside, maybe. But probably not even that. Yeah, so we got another 5 minutes. So if you guys want to post some more questions, I'll be happy to answer them. So I'll give you guys probably another minute or so to post a question. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Let's go, Nats. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't know. Is that tonight or tomorrow night? So I know that Game 6 was last night. Couldn't stay up. So Charles B says, do graphite shafts give an advantage over steel for seniors? I would say in general, yes, because basically you can get graphite shafts quite a bit lighter than a steel shaft. Your graphite shafts are going to be, and really they're making them well enough now that they're pretty close to as consistent as a steel shaft, from my understanding. I'm not an expert on it, but yeah, graphite shafts can definitely help because they are lighter. If they're lighter, seniors, a lot of times when you get older, you'll lose some club head speed. You lose some strength. You'll lose some club head speed. So in general, if you get something that's lighter, you can swing it faster. So a graphite shaft can help you to be able to swing the club a little bit faster. So yeah, I would say in general, graphite shafts can give an advantage for seniors for sure. So a couple more minutes here. If you have any more last minute questions, I'll be happy to answer. Yeah, if not, we'll go ahead and wrap it up for today. We'll be back here tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday, so Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Seeing is that today I still have my voice. At the end, I wasn't sure if that was going to happen, so I didn't have much of a voice yesterday, so that's why we had to cancel. Plus, I wasn't feeling real good, so feeling a lot better today. Just voice is still a little scratchy. So another minute here. If not, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Everybody can enjoy the rest of their Wednesday. Kind of torn. I don't know if I want the Nationals or the Astros to win. Sure, it'll be a good game though. Scherzer, I'm not sure who. I know Scherzer's going, or at least they said Scherzer was going to be pitching. And then not sure who's going for the Astros. It's not going to be Verlander. So I don't know if it's going to be Cole. I think it can't be Cole. I don't think. I think he pitched the game before Verlander. Maybe it's Greinke. I don't know. So anyway, we're right at 10 a.m. right now, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up right there. Thanks everybody for joining me this morning. Sorry I don't sound real great, but we got through it, and we'll be back here tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Everybody have a great rest of your day. Thanks.